Hello everybody, welcome once more to Gelvin Valley Farming Simulator 15 on a map made by Wild Wild Wes. We are harvesting canola at the moment, field number 22, mowing down the harvest with our slightly wider header than what we used in the past. And I'm looking to make some money. We're in the middle of a great demand, and actually as I say that, um, how much longer? I think I have 3 hours. Okay, so that should be a little bit of time, but I want to see how many fields I have left. We've hauled everything from storage. We're in 22. We have 19. And boy, oh boy, you know what? I think I can hit 19, but then I wonder if I need to deviate from my regular schedule, which would be to come down to here to get this barley. Maybe what I needed to do is go from 19 over to 38, see how much of that I can cut so that I can still get it up the hill and sold. Yeah, see, I'm trying to do make a few different, better financial decisions in the game. So we'll see if I can do that. I don't know if I can harvest all this in a 3 hour time period or just what I'll be able to do. We'll see. Just got to keep the combine moving. I remember my grandfather telling me a story a long, long time ago when I was just a little duffer, but for some reason it always sticks out in my mind. Um, if you've watched my Lone Oak series on the real life Lone Oak farms, I've tried to share a lot of information how, as to the operations of that particular farm, and they don't very often raise cereal grains. By and large, the only crop they have on there has traditionally been grass seed, but they have occasionally done some wheat over the years. Every now and again, there be a field of oats, um, but by and large, it's been grass. Well, back in the day, I remember my grandfather telling me it was in their cherry tree field. That's what they called it. It was one that they leased. They had it chock full of wheat. He said it was a beautiful crop, and the local co-op down there, just kind of like we see in games sometimes, just like we have right now with a canola with a great demand. Well, in real life, the co-op, I don't know if the price of wheat was going gangbusters. This might have been back in the 70s, when grain prices really ramped up through that time era. And so they were offering a premium. They couldn't get enough of it. And I remember Grandpa saying they went out to the field and they the combines, are set a certain way to go a certain speed, but time was of the essence. He had to get it to the co-op as soon as he could in order to take advantage of this pricing. So they increased the ground speed of the combines. He had two of them, I think. These were in the time era where they were 95H combines, John Deere 95s that were hillsides. And so they just pushed it to the limit to try to get as much of it in as they could to get it down there. And I guess a neighbor stopped by to kind of come by and see how they were doing. And Grandpa saw him overlooking behind where they'd already harvested, and he was looking in the chaff. And Grandpa told me he felt kind of sheepish a little going down there and saying, he's probably were throwing over a lot out of the combine because they were trying to be quick about it. And apparently the neighbor inspected the chaff, and Grandpa was saying, yeah, we're probably leaving some in the field, but we really need to get it to the co-op. And the guy just complimented him and said, well, I didn't see much in the air, so I think you're getting most of it. So I guess that can happen in real life. But I'd be curious to ask others, is that a small town, small farm, lost time era thing? Is there anything today in today's world where time is of the essence especially on something like cereal grains. You know, so much anymore, it seems like cereal grains are such a commodity. You don't even have to have it harvested. You don't even have to have it planted, and you can have it sold already. Just through the use of the futures contract, futures market, forward contracting, and all that jazz. I just don't know. We all live in, well, we live in an international world anymore, and it isn't just that a baker across the street all of a sudden has a massive demand for pies, so they need a whole bunch more flour, which triggers demand at the flour mill, which now all of a sudden needs more wheat than it has, and just doesn't seem to happen that way. I'm sure maybe that there's localized things that add up to the big picture, but yeah, it just doesn't seem, even if there is a local need, you don't see those price spikes just happen like that. So I think in the last episode, I mentioned something about hazelnuts and how Oregon, the state where I live, is one of the largest or the largest producer of hazelnuts in the U.S. And even at that, it is still a pittance compared to the world market, where the big dogs are Turkey and Spain and maybe France, some of those areas over there where they just vastly outproduce, what we're able to do here. So farmers in our state that raise hazelnuts are basically price takers. I mean, they can't, when there's so much politics and production that happens in other areas out of control of growers here, you're really kind of held captive of what happens in other areas of the world. So I don't know if this is true in other areas. The nature of a hazelnut tree, at least here in the States, is kind of what they call alternate bearing. So one year it produces a tremendous crop of nuts and just loads the trees down. The next year can be pretty lean. And I mean, this varies year by year. Sometimes the difference is very extreme. Other times it's not quite as extreme. And I understand there are weather events, that can cause this in any particular year. But, I mean, logic would say, well, if you don't have as large of a crop, that's going to mean that the nuts should be more valuable on the market, right? Well, that probably would work that way if it was only our area that produced hazelnuts. But because they're produced all over the world, we might have a short crop here and it might be low prices at year because there's abundance somewhere else in the world. It's just kind of the nature of the beast. But like I say, I was just curious, have any of you ever witnessed in real life that dynamic of what the game calls a great demand? Uh, and maybe that's the only way the game could build something like that into it. Well, it isn't the only way. There'd be other means of doing it, but that is a way. Maybe to somebody who, well, I guess I shouldn't say that. I was going to say someone who doesn't understand agriculture or the farming business, but I can only think of that one example, and it was something my grandfather told me. It wasn't something I witnessed, so, and who knows how much advance notice he had for getting crop to the co-op down there, so he could take advantage of a premium. Just don't know those details, so it just doesn't seem like it happens very often. More often than not, you put a crop in the ground, you have a contract for it, or you're raising it on spec. Um, just doesn't seem likely you'd have a great demand event that would just substantially boost your revenue. Quite like, we have going on here. It's like, how much of a boost? Okay, it's a 2 times. So this is double the regular rate at this location. I was going to say it's not double this rate, but that's the farm shop. So the regular rate here would be 511. They have it doubled 1022. Whatever it is, I'm gonna take it. You know what? As I look at my notes here, this is, folks, the 100th episode of Gelvin Valley. I can't believe it. Whether it actually ever gets aired is another thing. I can't remember where it is, where I'm at in the actual release schedule on YouTube. At this date, I might be lower 30s. So, for someone to make it clear to 100, they probably got to be sick in the head if they're listening to me the whole time. But yeah, this is my 100th episode, so as I create the thumbnails for this episode, I'm going to have to move it over a digit and figure out how to do that. But we'll figure it out. No problem. It can be done. Thanks to all the parts that were provided by Atomic. So it's kind of a milestone in some ways, hitting triple digits on a particular farm. I guess it makes me think of this last week. I don't know how it is. I mean, this is early September, I think, as I'm recording this. So this time of year tends to be when kids go back to school. So we have one child still in school. He's in high school, 9th grade, starting up this fall, and so he's been groaning about having to do it, but I think they secretly like it. Where else can they go to see all their friends and learn something at the same time? So he's so we've been working with him there. I think the last 2 weeks he's been in school. This finished his second week here as of this juncture. But this week now, finally, now he's finally bringing homework home, so he's really getting into it in earnest. And this past week, we almost missed it, but they had a barbecue at the school. He's part of, maybe some people listening to this will know what it is. I don't know how ubiquitous, well, yeah, it's probably just an American thing, FFA. I think it stood for Future Farmers of America. They may have changed what the acronym stands for. It's quite a program for kids. My youngest daughter, who's now out of the house and married, she went through it. She showed horses, showed sheep at the fair. There was other programs, where you could public speaking and leadership and a lot of these things, parliamentary procedure you could learn. It really is on quite a field from just the agriculture. It really is an excellent program for developing a lot of traits for young people, whether they're interested in agriculture or not. So, actually, both my daughters, now that I think about it, both of them were in it. And my next son, I have 4 children, he was never in FFA, but I gotta say, he was ever a part of agriculture in his own right, just being a beekeeper basically all 4 of his years in high school. He was out doing it, he wasn't just talking about it, I guess you could say. So my youngest, he's interested in learning how to weld, he's interested in mechanics, some of those kinds of things, and so some of his preliminary first classes he's taking in high school. We'll see kind of where this goes, but for the moment he's kind of part of the FFA program, and they had parents over for a barbecue at the school, and so went there, had a meal, and they were kind of telling us about all the programs and whatnot. The kids were there too, and I gotta say, after the meal, some of this is just good, clean, old-fashioned fun. I hadn't seen one of these in years, but these kids, the FFA program, I guess there's a chapter at each school. So each school has its own slate of officers, if you will, guided, of course, by the teachers of agriculture topics or whatever at the school. So they're going to have a president, vice president, a treasurer, and so forth, and all these special offices that each FFA chapter has. Well, as part of this barbecue, somebody rented one of those dunk tanks. And like I say, I hadn't seen one of these in a long, long time. Probably not since I was literally in grade school. I mean, I know they exist many places and they're just a bunch of fun, but the officers, the FFA officers, were the ones who, after their peers elected them to that position, well, then part of the deal at this barbecue is those kids went and were dunked. And it was a decent dunk tank. Okay, we're full now. I gotta take this in. It was a decent dunk tank. It seemed like the linkage with the plate, that you'd hit with the ball, wasn't quite as stiff as maybe it could have been. And I guess if there's anybody here that doesn't know what a dunk tank is, it's this big trailer load of water. Whoop. Trailer load of water, and it has kind of a platform where someone can sit on, stand on, whatever, up top, and it's sitting over the tank of water. And this platform that they're sitting on is kind of like a trap door. That's kind of how it functions. And there's some linkage under there that is hooked up to a plate on the front of the trailer that when the plate is triggered, like when it's pressed in, it releases the platform that the person is sitting on. Let me get this dumped here. And it drops them like a rock and dunks them, if you will, in the tank. So, like I say, all these kids, and there was maybe, I don't know, 75 young people there, give or take. They all were lining up to take turns. They had a softball, and they were maybe 50 feet away. I don't know how far. And took turns throwing the ball, trying to hit this plate, so they could dunk the new officers for their FFA chapter. And whether the kids wanted it to happen or not, every single one of them got dunked. Matter of fact, before they went up and sat on there, they agreed each person had to get dunked at least twice before they could get off at the platform. Except for the president, she was dunked, I think, 5 times. I think they made her get dunked a few more times. I'm not sure why. Go figure. Like I say, I have a memory as a kid in a grade school. I think it maybe was for a fundraiser, or maybe it was kind of a fair that we had. But I have this memory. I think the guy might have been a school board representative or school board candidate. I don't remember. Some higher up fella. And they were taking turns dunking him. And so he was sitting up there. I remember him. He was playing an instrument, it was either a trombone or a trumpet. And he wasn't very good at it. He was just making a raucous noise up there. He was insulting profusely all the people that were throwing stuff there, for their poor aim, for their poor character, and whatever else he could come up with. Just trying to, now why'd you drive so close? Just trying to rile people up, and of course he kept repeatedly getting dunked. Sometimes people would just get mad or pretend to be mad, and they would just, even if they couldn't hit it on their own, they would run up there and hit the plate by hand and dunk him anyways. So, and I remember it started getting dark, and there was somebody there that brought their car onto school grounds. I mean, shoot, they probably would never allow something like that today. Drove it over there and turned on the lights just so everybody could keep dunking this fella with a big mouth and put him in his place, I guess. Oh, you know what? I think the combine is empty. Or, yeah. So, I don't know. like I say, it's something I knew what it was. I haven't seen it that much over time, but I know they're always around. I always think the people willing to do that and to laugh at themselves by getting dunked, I mean, that's a pretty good sport. So I admire these kids for being willing to do that in front of all their peers and take a little guff from all of them because, well, they're in leadership and sometimes that's what leaders need to do. I remember, yeah, this is when I was in middle school. We probably all have memories like that, especially when it's someone in authority that you respect and they make a sacrifice of some kind to inspire and motivate people. And we were it was in middle school. We were selling something to it was some type of fundraiser, of course. I think we were raising money for some disease. I don't remember which one. There was over time. I remember multiple sclerosis was one of them. It was fundraised for. I just don't remember what this one is here, but the as you would sell stuff, and it was probably just selling candy bars or whatever, you would earn prizes, as a kid, and looking back on it, part of me says, boy, those were some pathetic prizes, these little trinkets and things that we worked so hard at to get. Well, we were getting on in the contest, and I remember this would have been a vice principal, and I started to say earlier, when someone in authority does something that you respect, this this vice principal really wasn't that well liked, but I think his reputation, if you will, went up quite a bit after he did this bit of encouragement. He told uh, the class that if we reached a certain target, that he would take a pie in the face. And I mean, this guy, he was one that would wear a suit and tie every day, was pretty, the old stiff upper lip, if you will, kind of straight laced, no nonsense kind of a person. It's like you really could hardly imagine someone like that being willing to take a bite to the face. Well, we met whatever boosted target there was for selling these candy bars, and so he had to pony up. And I'll never forget that as a kid, just watching. I don't know who got the pleasure of putting a pie in his face. I'm sure there was plenty of kids who would have liked to, especially the ones that this guy got him into trouble or whatever. And I just remember the person that did it just did a great job at it. Started at his face and just smeared it around his head. Got it in his hair and everything. Just did a marvelous job at it. So it was pretty funny. Yeah, it's always funny when you can get someone uh, just for inspiration. It's amazing how something like that can take hold of a group of kids or people and inspire them to do something a little bit different. I guess that's part of leadership. Nobody ever told me that sometimes you'd have to act like a fool. But hey, if that's what it takes to motivate people, then that's what it takes. We are almost done with this here field. We're going to be off to the next. We'll go take care of little 19 before we head down to do 32 or 38, whatever it is. Alright, where's my guy? I think, let me see if I can call him. Driver? Yoo-hoo! See, I can stop the driver. I can send him home. I'm pretty sure if I come up here and try to offload in him, it's just he's gonna move. Maybe I can get enough. Maybe I can get enough in him to unload my combine. Yeah, Alright, so we did it. Okie doke. Folks, we are heading to the next one. Littlefield 19, just up the road here in Gelvin Valley. Must be the damage that I have here that's limiting my speed. It seems like I'm topping out at 12 miles an hour. That's an abysmal slow speed. So one of these times I'm going to need to get this repaired. But at least I can drive through cars. That mod is so handy that we installed on here. Go down through this dry wash. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I know the school that I went to growing up, middle school, high school, was kind of in town, down to the west of us, and for whatever reason, and most of it was town kids, but they had a little slice that went out into the country and picked some of us up out there, and so going to school, it kind of was a collision of two different worlds in some ways. Oh, let's see, can I get this thing in here? Oh, goodness. Are you not going to let me through? Ah ha ha ha. You will let me through. It's just that other post that doesn't want to let me. By and large, most of the kids, I mean, a lot of times, in some ways, kids seem more conscientious about certain things today than they were back when I was. Although I'm using the word conscientious a little bit loosely. Frankly, I think a lot of it sometimes is propaganda fed to them, whether through television or the teachers or what have you, that get them to think a certain way that immediately puts them at odds or some kind of animosity of their fellow student. But I know back in the era when I went to school, it wasn't that way for the most part. Oops. Oh, I guess I had stopped it. No wonder it didn't. Alright, we're going to take our temp recording thing off. Now, is that enough? You know what? I better just take him down and dump him. It just seems like years ago you were allowed to be more of a kid without getting dragged into all the politics before you had a chance to let your mind develop and get into it more, but that seems to have changed. And I'm sure I had a reason for bringing that up. I just don't remember what it is at the moment. Maybe it's different perspective. I think I'm getting tired. That's probably why I can't remember. Oh, as I look at the clock, I see why I'm tired. We are almost at the end of another episode as it is, so I'll get this guy out to field 19 and stop bothering you all, boring you all. Oh, I remember what it was. Good grief. I was giving you examples of people in authority and leadership or whatever doing things to inspire people that are under them. Maybe in an academic setting, it's the principal or what have you. Well, I remember one instance in high school. Like I said, that's why I was bringing this up. A lot of people just didn't know the farm or agriculture, and so it was kind of a caricature to them as to how they saw farming and farm activity. But everybody knows pigs have an odor, and the football, I forget why he did this. He somehow was induced to, oh, I know what it was. We voted on it. There was a petition sent out to all the students. Who would you most like to see kiss a pig? And so there was like a football player was mentioned, and someone else, I don't remember who. And then the football coach was mentioned. Well, needless to say, the coach won it hands down. And at a pep assembly that we had at school, he was he had to kiss the pig. There, I think that's. Come on, turn around. I don't know how I made that corner before. That's kind of remarkable, actually. So when the time came, he did. He kissed the pig twice, I think. I thought it would have been more interesting to have a greased pig contest and grease the pig and make the football team try to catch it and see how good a job they could do, but that isn't what they opted to do. And this guy, I can't say he was well liked, either as a coach or as a teacher. He was kind of a gruff sort of guy and just a no-nonsense person half the time, but you never know. It isn't that he couldn't laugh, it's just you never knew which side of him was going to come out at any particular time. I guess he was a decent enough teacher. He taught history. But I do appreciate that he did that to inspire, was willing to do it to inspire a bunch of young people at the school. Anyway, I am over on my time, so I'm going to let you all go there. Thank you so much for watching, and hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.